Oh, there it goes. Now it's actually.
All right, folks, maybe we're talking. Hello, Catherine.
Well, it's still. I don't know why the other screen says black. Hey, who's doing? Hey, Gimli?
All right, if everybody can hear me, hello.
Hey.
I'm not sure what that's about, but I approve. I encourage people to try different things. Back in the 1950s, 1960s, much of Europe and the US, a man could go to work and have a job and be a CEO or a mailman or a delivery man or a doctor. And women stayed home with their kids. Try and ground, Gimli, it'll help. And look inside. If this just makes you nervous, then go be stable. Go put on something that's stable. You've met the challenge. You've done it. Yes? It's more important to be you than it is to be stable. Well, fix it.
It's off air for some reason. Can you see it on that one? Alright. Yeah, it's like it's on. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, there it is.
So,
I don't know why.
Gimli, go do what it takes to be stable. And if that means putting on something else or whatever, do it. But be stable, be you. It's more important to be you than to meet challenges or play games.
Yes.
The most important thing you can possibly do is to be you. And when that starts to slip for whatever reason, you change it. So,
yes.
Go do what it takes. Quickly. Go, go, go. Find power. Don't sit confused and angry. Alright. One more time. It's about 1:15, but I was napping and asked somebody to wake me up 30 minutes early, and she woke me up 15 minutes early, so it took me longer to get started. Hi. I see lots of people looking happy and several people looking tense. That's okay. The ones I can't see, there are a few people being happy and a few people being tense. Alright. It's easier if you're trying to catch a baseball or a frisbee that someone throws to you, to watch it for a few seconds. Why? So you know where it's going. If you know where it's been, you know where it's going. If a frisbee just appears in front of you, it's probably going to hit you in the nose. You need to see where it's coming from and where it is to project where it's going. And see, a lot of people, they try and answer questions in terms of right now. How you doing? I'm fine. What do you think of this? Oh, I'm not so sure. The questions, the answers are now. Ground. Ground. Usually when I try to answer a question or talk about something, I try to start a little bit in the past and talk about what's going on so that you can see the path of the frisbee. And so when I say, here's what's going on now, you can kind of get a feel for it and have a better chance of catching it. And I was going to do that. I was going to start with a little bit of history, but instead, I'm going to break the rules a bit and just start with now. For those of you who can sense it, you already know what I'm talking about. Something's happening in the world. For those of you who can't, perhaps you've seen things like the Mayan prophecy or the Hopi prophecy or the famous Cherokee prophecy. And none of these says, like the big 2012 movie, something's going to happen and wipe out the world, or the various aliens invade and we have to fight for our lives. None of the prophecies talk about death or violence or destruction. They talk about change. And for those of you who can sense even a little bit, you can sense change. And for those of you who can't, you can look at your life over the past 20 years, or look at history over the last 100 years. If in 1900 you'd have talked about superhighways, or Ferraris, or motorcycles, if you talked about jets flying through the air and getting from Europe to the States or vice versa in 3 hours, if you talked about being able to pull something out of your pocket and talk to somebody in Spain or Brazil or China, they would have assumed either that you're crazy or that you're just a good storyteller. There's no way you can just pull something out of your pocket and talk to someone in China. You can talk to yourself and pretend it's China, but no, that's crazy. And you can see in the last 100 years, you can look at the last 20 years of your life, most of you have 20 years to draw on, and see how things have changed. This change is huge. Even if you ignore the meta side, which hopefully most of you don't anymore, the change that's going on right now is phenomenal. Everything you look at in the newspapers, in the media, in internet broadcast, in schools, everything is changing. And it's not a subtle, small change. It's a big, huge, scary change. Well done, lad. There's lots and lots and lots of things that are different now. And it's almost as if the change is speeding up. So in 5 years now, we get as much change as we got as 20 years in the past. Or if you go back to the Pleistocene era, or someplace where humans were making cave paintings in Lascaux, you've got as much change happening in 5 years as you had perhaps in 1,000. Going from hitting things with a stick to hitting things with a stick with a rock on the end. It was a huge increase in technology not that long ago. What's changing now is changing so fast that you can't not see it. People in technical fields are writing books about how fast things are changing. I have seen people studying viruses and bacteria saying, we can't believe how fast viruses and bacteria are mutating at the moment, and we don't even know what's going to happen in the world with things changing so fast. And there's a brilliant book by Ray Kurzweil, I think, called The Age of Intelligent Machines. This is maybe 5-8 years ago that he wrote it. And he said, things with computers are changing so fast that the amount of information we can store in the world is doubling every certain amount of time. And he said, if it keeps up, you can chart the progress of things up until somewhere between 2012 and 2010 and 2020. He said somewhere in that space, things are going to change so fast that we can no longer predict what's happening. The change starts affecting the change, and that change starts affecting the change. He said at some point, either machines begin to reprogram themselves. Better drink of water. Either machines start to reprogram themselves, or humans start to augment their thinking with implanted chips to help them remember. And we're already doing things like this with implanted technology to help people see. Chips in the eyes to increase your function, with technology in the brain to change the way it works. And so we're already doing this. And he said eventually, somewhere between 2010 and 2020, what's going to happen is we augment our ability to learn, and we're going to start creating more machines. And when we do that, we're going to be able to augment our ability to learn even more. And he said something in the change. He said, right now, if you were to make a graph of the change over time, it's a curve. You can follow it. But somewhere in there, the change is going to start affecting the change, which is going to start affecting the change. And basically, if, for those of you who understand it, the amount of change is increasing over time and the graph's going up, he said eventually there's going to come a place where the graph is going up so fast that time keeps going and the graph can't keep going. The graph has just gone vertical. For the mathematicians among you, a vertical asymptote. And time can't stop. Not as far as we know. It keeps going. So what happens, what he predicts, is a discontinuity, a break. The amount of change in the world is happening so fast that something just breaks and nobody can predict what will happen after. And over the last 15 years, I found people, experts in many fields, saying the same things. Somewhere between 2010 and 2020, something is going to happen where the change just gets so fast that we can't predict what's going to happen. And for those of you aware, that time is now. Now, by now, I don't mean this precise second. I mean go back 3 to 5 years, go forward 3 to 5 years, and think of it as kind of a distribution around now. That in this moment, things are changing so fast. And in the past, things have changed, and the future they're changing. But right in the very near past and near future, things are changing immensely fast. Now, those of you who are aware of the meta-energies can sense it. Things are different every day. Some things hugely different. Those of you who aren't, I'd like you to think about anxiety, uncertainty. Waking up, oh my goodness, I don't know what's going on. I feel nervous. I want you to think about being scared, being frightened, being anxious, being just a little bit nuts. In your own life, in your friends, and in the number of people who are now taking medications for long-term anxiety and depression. What happens is our systems don't handle change well. When things were steady for thousands of years at a time, when you ate a certain kind of berries and gave a certain kind of berries to your kids, and your great-great-grandparents gave those same kind of berries to your kids, the parents who gave those kind of berries to the kids ate and got fat and lived and grew up to be healthy. And the parents who said, oh, let's go try a new berry, and give it to their kids. Well, since nobody was eating it up until then, there's probably a reason. The berry was probably poisonous, it probably killed somebody. And your kids didn't get a chance to grow up and have offspring. And those who looked at you, ooh, don't eat new berries. New berries are dangerous. They lived. And the ones who tried these new things in a world which is stable over thousands of years, maybe they didn't. The ones who said, ooh, stay in your caves at night, it's a scary world. They lived and had kids and grandkids. The ones said, ooh, let's go out and explore the night and see what happens. They got eaten by something. At least in terms of the phylogeny, the evolutionary process, as science understands it, changes happen. Some people live to pass on what they've learned and some don't. And those who tried new things when the world was very stable had a lower chance of living. And those who stuck to the old things, they had a better chance of existing. And it's not just people. When you were this big and swimming around in pond scum, not you personally, but when human beings were much, much further back, the little thing that swam around in the pond and stayed with the school of other little things that swam around in the pond and did what everybody else was doing had a better chance of survival. And the little thing that said, I want to go off and try something new by myself, probably got eaten. So what? What I'm suggesting is that in your bones, way back in the monkey brain, in your guts, in your bloodstream, and the chemicals in your system, there is something that for hundreds of millions of years has encouraged you to be scared of change. It's not an emotional fear. It's not a logical fear up here in, the front minds. It's way down deep, fundamental in who you are. It says if you change, there's a chance you'll get hurt. And if you stay the same as you've always been, as your grandparents have been, and so on, you'll be okay. And when nothing changes for thousands of years, and this has happened, if you look back at the history of tool use in the phylogenetic record, they used the same kind of chipped stone hand axe over thousands of years. Thousands. Can you imagine right now if we were using the same technology that we've been using for thousands of years? Well, think about 5,000 years ago. We'd all still be living in caves. We'd have a lifespan of 25 years. We'd be wearing animal skins. There might be a few people planting crops, but most of us wouldn't be. The age of tiny recording devices and internet broadcasts and technology and transportation and the much longer lifespans that humans have now than they did 5,000 years ago. This would be impossible. See, we're not living in the same world we were 5,000 years ago. We're not living in the same world we were 50 years ago. We're not living in the same world we were 5 years ago. Things are changing very fast. And this isn't mysticism. This isn't the meta. You don't have to scan this. You can look at the history of information and see that things are changing faster than they ever have. And for this reason, that piece way down in your bones, in your bloodstream, way back here in the hindbrain that controls your heartbeat and your breathing and the most fundamental parts of you, there's something in you that says, be scared of change. Be nervous. Be cautious. When things are changing, run away and try to be the same person you always have. And you can't do it. Right now, everything's changing too fast, even ignoring the meta, and I don't ignore the meta. I work with energies and sense energies, and many of you have begun to work with energies and sense energies that are beyond the physical. Much more. You can sense if people are lying to you. You can scan a thing and know what's best for you to eat. You can scan a decision and decide whether to take a new job or to stay with your old one, whether to learn something new or not to. You can shape an energy. I want to have this experience in my life, and you reach out, and the next day it comes to you. I was just thinking about that yesterday. A lot of you have had this experience. I've seen folks here, and I've seen you working on the internet. Somebody, non-local, will say, "Where's my thingamajig?" And somebody here will scan, have you looked on the second shelf behind you? And they turn and look on the second shelf behind. Oh my goodness, it's there. How'd you do that? I have seen, I think Gimli told you at one point recently where he and I were out. And a guy came up and said, I have a kid who's disabled. I don't know how to deal with him. And Gimli sat down and did his little Gimli face. And he told this guy exactly what this guy needed to hear. Having never met the kid, having never met him before, he just, or maybe he saw a photograph. He told him all these things. And the guy said, well, some of that is exactly what, the doctors, the professionals have told me. And some of it makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go try it. I'm sure that many of you have begun to have these experiences. And you cannot logically explain these things. You can call some of them coincidence. You can say, well, the odds. But the truth is, the odds of getting something so exactly right are small. And the odds of doing it again, just by chance, are even smaller. And the odds of day after day, scanning things and getting things right and touching exactly what it needs inside someone to heal, or knowing exactly what to say to someone, or shaping something to happen in your life, doing it again and again, you can't explain this by chance. Eventually you begin to sound like an idiot, an insane person. All right, well, that could have been just chance. Yeah, there's 1 chance in 1,000 it could have been chance. But it happened yesterday too. So it's 1 chance in 1,000 times 1 chance in 1,000. And it happened a week ago and it happened before that. Eventually, you are being so narrow-minded to say, all right, I know that if mathematically I calculate the odds, there's only 1 chance in 12 billion. It truly is coincidence. But I won't believe it. It has to be coincidence. This is nonsense. The truth is that we are scientists and we are explorers. Most of us are educated either formally or by reading a lot of books and looking at the world around us, and we understand the scientific method. And we understand that until you explore something, it's new. And sometimes it's crazy. 200 years ago, if you'd have told someone they were sick because there were millions of tiny monsters crawling around inside them, they would have either ignored you or turned you over to some religious institution that would have burned you at the stake. And now we take this for granted. If you're sick, there are millions of tiny bacteria, and if you zoom in, they're scary-looking monsters. And this is what's making you sick. This was weird magic, mysticism, crazy talk just a little time ago. And now, because we can see at that level, we can say, oh, yeah, obviously it's true. And what you folks are learning to do is to see at this level, to feel at this level, to hear, to shape, to sense, to source at these new levels. And you're no longer saying, well, I believe in the meta. You're saying, I live here. I live in the meta. I reach out and shape a thing and it changes. I take someone who's nervous and I ground them and they get quiet. I saw Catherine this past week in an incredibly, insanely noisy coffee shop. I don't know if we've told the story or not, but insanely noisy coffee shop. And we were shouting to be heard over the 80 people who were packed into that place. And, I mean, people sitting just a meter away or just a few feet away. We were shouting to be heard. What? And Catherine said, all right, let me make it quieter. Just a little bubble. And she did something. And within 3 minutes, that entire place was quiet. After an hour of being noisy, and the entire place was quiet, to the point where someone behind the counter, like one of those little metal steaming things they make lattes with, they dropped it, and it echoed off the walls, and everybody looked up startled. And I could hear people laughing from across the room. And there was a couple 3 or 4 meters away, and they were talking softly, and I could hear what they were saying. You might say, coincidence, but this place had all of these people packed in, and they were all shouting, and Catherine, and it was so quiet we could whisper and hear it. And we went outside, and the whole street, people were out there, and they were talking softly for 3 blocks. When we walked away 3 blocks, people were talking softly. You see this once and say, oh, that's a weird coincidence. But when you see this day after day after day, you can't say it's coincidence anymore. The sensing, the shaping, the sourcing, these things are happening. And those of you who are past yellow belt, you work with these things all the time. You see someone nervous and you say, did your mother do this? Yes, she did. How'd you know? I can't find this. Did you look there? Oh my goodness, it was. How'd you know? Oh, you're sad? Try this. What'd you do? It's gone. You see someone sick and you touch them in just the right way and they suddenly start breathing clearly. You see this stuff day after day after day and you start thinking, I can't not accept this. I see it. It's like refusing to believe in breakfast. After you've been eating breakfast for 10 years. I refuse to believe breakfast exists. But you had eggs this morning. I refuse to believe it. This is insane. This is a kind of religiously focused, not religion, but religiously focused narrow-mindedness that we can't afford. We are scientists exploring a new field. And so what we do is we collect the data. We study. We watch the patterns as they happen. When I do it this way, time after time I get results. When I do it this way, I don't. Around, New Year's, there were a couple people outside screaming at one another at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I went out to look, because sometimes just watching people can keep them from being too stupidly violent, knowing they're watched. And there were 2 men out there shoving each other and shouting and raising their fist and about to come to blows. And I said, enough. And from across the street, I reached over and grounded them. And their fists came down. And they looked at each other. And they both shrugged and started to walk away. And a third person came up and took a swing at one of them. because I hadn't grounded him. And immediately the tension started again. So I reached out and grounded that third person. And he went, it wasn't magic. I took all the anger and grounded it. And the three of them stopped shouting, and they all turned and walked off in different directions. Now, if any of you have watched people, violence escalates, and the more you shove and the more you push, the more angry you get until somebody's taken a swing. And once somebody's taken a swing, people don't walk away from it, especially when they're drunk. And all it took was me grounding them. And they turned around and walked away. This kind of thing is happening more and more, and it will be happening more and more. This kind of stuff is real. And it's dangerous to ignore it. There are these big waves of change coming in. And if you haven't spent time at the ocean, then I'll ask you to trust my experience in this one. I spent a lot of time at the ocean. And I found if you stand just a little bit into the ocean and turn your back to the waves, when a big wave comes in, it smacks you in the back of the head and you face plant on the beach. And, sand is very abrasive. You scrape up your nose and it's very painful. And you get up and you stand there with your back to the wave, and the little waves come when they splash over you, but eventually waves come in sets. Eventually a larger wave will come and poof, you face plant in the sand again. And after a while you start to think, oh, this just hurts too much. I hate the ocean. You have two choices. You can turn around and look at the waves as they're coming to you. And so when the big ones come to you, you can see them coming and be ready so they don't knock you down. Or a simpler solution, get deeper in. Now, waves have a certain height, and out in the ocean they maintain that height. It's only when they get close to the land and it gets shallower and shallower that they can't maintain their height anymore. And so they get pushed up. And they get pushed up. And eventually they get so tall that the gravity breaks them and they fall over, and you see that beautiful wave crest that is in so many pictures and movies. Being close to the shore pushes the wave up, and the waves get taller and they break. If you simply get deeper out there, get out to the ocean where it's up to your chest, big wave comes in, it lifts you up, and you float up, and then your feet come back to the ground. Another wave, you float up and you gently come back down. And nothing knocks you on your face. These are your two choices. You can run away from the ocean completely, but if you're going to stay at the beach, you either turn to look at the waves so you know what's coming, or you get deeper involved. And what you people are doing, you're getting deeper involved. You're getting involved in the changes. Not magic, not mysticism, but science. Science fundamentally is noticing what's happening in your world, making conclusions, building up an explanation, and then testing that explanation. And if your explanation is little green men from Mars are running remote controls, well, you should be able to test that. And if you can't find any evidence for it, then you should let that theory go. Don't believe in this stuff. Test it. Turn and face these waves of changes that are coming in. Get deeper involved and start changing on purpose. Start noticing how the meta is increasing in the world, how sexuality is changing in the world, how social dynamics are changing in the world, how people are waking up all over the world. Get involved and start noticing. Don't believe it, notice it. Collect data, make conclusions, build theories, but build up a picture of your world. That's how we survive. And when things are changing as fast as they are, this is how we have to do it. We have to turn and face the waves. We have to look at the changes that are coming. We have to watch and be aware. So, what I'm telling you tonight, the changes are coming hard and fast. This is a time when you need more awareness than you ever have. Awareness, paying attention. This is the center of everything we do. If somebody says, well, you need this in your life, and you have enough awareness, you can say, no, that doesn't scan to me. I have watched people in this room say something, and I've seen 6 people say, neat, that doesn't scan, neat. And it doesn't matter that these two were having a conversation and someone over here was having a conversation. They don't even know what was said. All of them look up at the same time and say, nope, that doesn't scan. I have seen people walk into this very room and say, I have no idea what you just said, but that scans. That's true. We need to do this. We need to be aware. We need to use the tools at our disposal. We need to use the meta tools. And more importantly, we need to use the tools that life has given us. We need to use our hands to touch things and explore, our eyes to pay attention, our ears to listen, and our minds to collect the data and study those data and make intelligent conclusions and work with those conclusions. And when the conclusions say that something you've known for 20 years is wrong, it may be time to change what you've known. Holding on to your beliefs of the past, holding on to what you know and are sure of, is like standing there with your back to the ocean. And it's fine when the small waves come in. When a big change comes in, it's going to hurt. You need to be aware. You need to pay attention. You need to start looking around because things are changing faster and faster and faster. And if my senses are correct, we have hit a place where the changes have gotten about as fast as they're going to get, and they're going to start slowing down. So 20 years from now, the rate of change will be slower. The derivative will be smaller. But what's happening right now is no longer just how much change is happening. What's going on is that society has built a structure, dry land on which we stand, and these waves of change are coming in and hitting all that we know and believe, like the waves coming into the beach, and it's pressing these up higher and higher, whereas before it would have just been a swell in the ocean. Now it's turning into a wave that's going to topple over and wash things away and knock things over. This is a time when those waves of change are having maximal effects, when everything's getting different. This is a time to be aware of those changes and to remember that for millions or hundreds of millions of years, you have been a creature that if a change happened and you ran away from it, you survived. And if something new happened and you embraced it, you probably didn't. At a very deep, fundamental, phylogenetic level, you're a creature who's worried about change, who's uncomfortable with change. And these changes simply can't be denied anymore. It's time to start being aware and paying attention. It's time to start recognizing the nervous and the anxious and the insecure, the frustrated and the frightened and the chaotic. And turning and opening your eyes, opening your ears, opening your awareness and paying attention. There is nothing more sacred in what we do than awareness. The energy of the heart is what connects us all. You can ask people, and out of all their feelings in their life, the love that they have for one another is their strongest feeling. The love that a young couple has for each other is so overwhelming. They throw away all their knowledge and all their experience and all their cultural constraints, and they run off together. The love that a parent has for a child doesn't have to be a small child. A child can be 20 or 30, and that parent will still jump in front of a bullet to save them, will still work themselves to death to give that child the best opportunities they have. The love piece is the strongest and most fundamental one in humans. And I'm telling you, perhaps you've heard my talk on it, but love and awareness are the same thing. To be aware of something is to love it. To love something is to be aware of it. These are the same. This awareness, this love is the fundamental to everything that we do. And this is what you need right now. You need to be aware. And not aware with trepidation, with anxiety, with fear. But aware with an effort to really open your heart to the world around you. To really love the people around you. To really care about, to love the planet that you live on and the cycles and patterns within it. To love even the strangers, the ones you don't know. You need to be aware. But most importantly, you need to be aware of yourself. You need to love yourself. You need to be able to look in the mirror and say, I love you. You're awesome. You're the most important person in my life. If I had to walk through this life with anybody right now, I'm glad it's you. You need to be able to do this. Because I tell you, I don't explain it, I just tell you, that there's only one person in this world you can love. Only one. You only get one chance. And it's not your spouse or your kids or your lover. That's you. There's only one person you can love, and that's you. And everyone else you love is just a reflection of how much you love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, if you can't stand yourself, you're not going to be able to love the people around you. The anxiety, the fear, the chaos, the confusion that you feel all the time are going to be reflected in every action and expression, every thought and word and deed. The more that you love yourself and the more that you're aware of yourself, the more that you love the people around you and the more that you'll be aware of them. So right now, the most powerful and effective thing you can do is to pay attention, to be aware, to love yourself. And as you do so, with love comes trust, to begin to trust yourself, what you're learning, what you're scanning, what you sense. And in that love and that trust and that awareness of the self, you find an increasing love and trust and awareness of others. And if you keep doing this for long enough, your heart finally begins to wake up and you hear the music. And those of you who are there know what I'm talking about. There's an underlying music that we all can hear. And it doesn't sound like music. It's a deep and fundamental vibe that everyone who opens their awareness enough begins to sense. And it tells you, don't go here, do that, talk to that person, keep that kid from committing suicide even if you don't know him. Reach out to that person, make it quiet in that coffee shop. It begins to talk to you and see why you all have separate minds and think differently. And if you all follow your thoughts, we go in different directions and create chaos. We need thousands or millions of rules and structures and societal constructs just to keep us from destroying ourselves. There's only one song, and every heart hears it. The heart's like a radio station. It's only tuned to one channel and you can't retune it. Everybody hears the same song. Doesn't matter if you're a microscopic something. Doesn't matter if you're some kind of extraterrestrial entity that has lived 20,000 years. There is only one song underneath. And our purpose is to be aware, to open our hearts, to love ourselves and those around us, to trust, and to begin to hear this song. And right now, in this place, that song is singing about change. It's singing about a change so huge and so fundamental that in 100 years, people will look back at this time and say, how is it even possible? How is it you had 10% of your world population starving to death and nobody cared? How is it millions of people were dying of starvation every day and you didn't even notice? How is it you were spending trillions of dollars or euros or yen on building bombs to kill people and you weren't aware that there were camps where people are being formally tortured all over the world, that there are people dying of easily curable diseases, that there are homeless people living on every street, insane people wandering around who need treatment? How are you not aware? How are you not aware that your factories were dumping toxins into the environment at such an insane rate that if you kept going, you would have destroyed yourselves? That's suicide on a planetary level. The human species is suicidal. It's destroying itself. It's positively insane. If a doctor, a psychologist could sit down with the entire human race and say, look at your behavior, they would prescribe some very strong antipsychotics and probably an extended stay in a mental institution because clearly it's self-destructive. It's trying to kill itself. They would say, how in heaven did you let it get to that? How could you people be so crazy and think it's normal? This is crazy. This is insane. How did that happen? And they won't be able to understand. Because 100 years from now, either the human race will be extinct, Or everybody's going to have enough to eat. Everybody's going to have a place to live. Everybody's going to be able to walk out the door without being terrified. Everybody who wants to learn is going to have a chance at education. The vast amounts of money and wealth that are being created in the world are going to be focused on improving the lives of people and making sure that people can live a healthy and comfortable life, do what they want to do, explore the things they want to do. And things like slavery, rape, torture, starvation, war are going to be inconceivable in this world in only 100 years. And they're going to look back baffled. School kids are going to study this in history books and say, how did you possibly get to a place where you thought this stuff was normal? How can you watch movies of torture and violence and war and pain and horror and think this is healthy? What were you thinking? This is crazy. And this is only, for you youngsters, 100 years might seem a long time. But in the history of the human species, from the time they were little critters swimming around in pond scum to the present, 100 years is a flash so fast it's inconceivable. And the change that will happen in that time is so much so that when you hear me talk about it, you say, oh, there's no way that could ever happen. That's just too good to be true. It's inconceivable to you, but I'm telling you it's happening. And it's not happening someday, it's happening now, and it's been going on for 40 years. And it'll go on for another 40. The change is so huge, and you're scared of change at a level so deep you can't possibly conceive of it. And so what I want every one of you to do, not just today, but tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, preferably for the next few years, beyond that, preferably for the rest of your life, to wake up every day and look in a mirror and say, I love you. That's all. Just look at yourself and say, I love you. And say it over and over until you mean it. Because at first you're not going to mean it. You're going to say it and feel stupid. I mean, loving yourself, that's insane. And anybody who tells you, anybody who studies people will tell you self-love is absolutely fundamental. Self-loathing, self-criticism, self-hatred, self-abuse. These things are common in our world, but they're not healthy. Self-love is necessary. And I'm telling you as someone, as something with a much bigger perspective, that all of the people you love, all of the things you love, it comes from self-love. Start practicing that. The only cure for anxiety, the only cure for fear of change is self-love. In self-love, you find love of everything else. And you begin to find love of even the changes. You turn around and start noticing the waves coming in. And pretty soon you're like one of those kids at the beach, running up and leaping in each wave and going, rah, splash, big smile, and do it again. This excitement, this joy, this passion, this intensity to explore. This happens when you begin to trust the waves. When you begin to be aware of the changes. When you can simply love enough, and that love comes from self-love and self-awareness. The most important thing you can do right now is self-love, is self-awareness. And this is the core of what Rohat and the Elf Path are teaching, is self-awareness. Why did I do that? What do I want? Who am I inside? What is Katon, the true self? What is Kamai, the expression of the true self? Who am I? What am I doing? What feels right to me? What do I want? Self-love, self-awareness. These are the answer to the changes that are happening. And in the last 2 weeks, really since December, but quite a bit in the last 2 weeks, we have been weaving much, much deeper changes in what's going on out there. Vast, huge, sweeping changes. Things that have gone on for an inconceivably long time are impossible now. Now, what I'm telling you, most of you can't perceive, and so I don't want you to believe me. Belief is a disease of the mind. Belief is a mental dysfunction. As soon as you believe it, you can't consider any other possibility. If you truly believe that's a tree and not an oncoming car, you're going to get run over. Belief is dangerous. Don't believe what I'm telling you. Open your eyes. Open your awareness and your guts. Open your hearts and start to notice. Watch, especially over the next 3 weeks. I expect to see some truly astounding changes happening. And beyond that, watch what's happening in the world. And when you sense you're ready, begin to work towards changing. You don't have to go out and rewire the fundamental structure of reality. You can see someone who's suicidal and go over and talk to them and tell them life's worth living. You can see somebody who's scared and go reassure them. You can see somebody who's angry and go calm them down. You can see somebody who's going through a hard time and go listen to them. You can see a local factory that's dumping waste and start a citizens group to increase awareness. You don't have to do world-sweeping changes. You can change the things around you. Because people all over the world are sensing this change and beginning to change. And now's the time to get busy and be part of that change. Get deeper into the ocean. Crawl further out. Swim further out. You can still be at a place where you can comfortably stand. You don't have to be out in the scary parts. But when you're further out, the waves are just pleasant things that bounce you up and down, and not big scary things that knock you over. And swimming or even standing in the ocean, 10 meters out from the shore, with the gentle rocking of the waves, it brings us back to being babies before we were born and being gently rocked inside our mothers. The sea is this beautiful and gentle thing, and it's why so many people go there. To be surrounded by this warm salt water and gently bounced up and down and rocked back and forth. It's no longer a terrifying thing. It no longer smashes you on your face in the sand again and again and again. And the only thing you have to do is get a bit deeper. But before you can get deeper, you have to trust that those waves won't destroy you when you do so. And before you can trust, you've got to learn to open your heart enough to begin to love and care. And if this sounds too simple, this is not. I have studied the religions of many cultures all over the world. And those religions have insanely different philosophies and ideas. Some of them, they've been fighting, having wars, destroying themselves and one another for hundreds and hundreds of years. But see, every one of those religions has mystics. And the mystics are the people who hide in the monasteries and focus on their navel and really meditate and look deep inside. And what I found is that the words that these mystics say, it doesn't matter if they're Jewish mystics, if they're Muslim mystics, if they're Christian, if they're Hindu, if they're Shinto, it doesn't matter. When I read the words of the most advanced mystics in every religion this world has offered, they say the same things. This is logically impossible. Logically, there's no way people can start from totally different premises and come to the same conclusion. You go deeper and deeper into something, you understand that something better and better. Ask anybody with a PhD. But once you get your PhD and start studying this, you don't suddenly find yourself in agreement with every other PhD in the world. Anybody who works in the field of science knows this. Professors are constantly fighting with one another about their different theories. This doesn't happen in the meta. When the mystics look deep enough, they all start saying the same things. And those things sound too simple to believe. Those things, you'll hear them and you go, that's some Beatles song. But they all say the same things. It doesn't matter if it's Rumi or Hafiz, more than 1,000 years ago, whirling in circles, seeking enlightenment, or a Shinto priest in Japan, or a Hindu mystic, or a Christian mystic in the desert. It doesn't matter. The Native American mystics. They all say that there is a single fundamental force that underlies everything, and that force is in tune with the heart. You can call that force something like love, and every mystic of every religion says that this force of the heart, this thing I would call kichael, this love, is the fundamental piece that underlies everything. And that the most important piece, the most important step you can take in your life is to learn to find that in yourself, to explore it and express it. And that all of harmony and all of peace and all of joy comes from that energy of the heart. And every mystic says this. There are 3 to 5 fundamental truths that every mystic comes up with. And they all say the same things. It's about the heart. It's about loving yourself and loving one another. And that love is the force, the underlying energy that motivates everything else in life, that shapes and creates the universe around us. So don't take my word on this. Whatever religion you belong to, look at the best of your mystics. Look at the wisest and most aware in your own history. And they're saying the same. The heart is the center of all that is, and the energy of the heart that we loosely call love is what undermotivates, carries, supports, creates everything else. There is a single music that every heart tunes to. So trust, listen, be aware, open your perceptions, open your hearts. Practice first and foremost looking in a mirror and loving yourself. And when you feel strong enough and trusting enough, begin to love the people around you. And this, more than anything else, will tune you to the music, and your life will grow smoother and more gentle and more beautiful. And the people around you won't get it. It is a dictum, a common idea, that the ones who can't hear the music think the dancers are insane. When you begin to hear this music and to move with it, you'll find that you're moving in harmony with everyone else who's moving with it. And in 100 years, this world will be moving in harmony with that. And to get from here to there involves being aware of the intense change that's going on in ourselves, in our world, in the path of humanity. And in that awareness, to love yourself and those around you. It sounds so simple, but that's because it is. Anybody, any expert in any field, will tell you that the deep truths are simple once you understand them. An undergraduate might spend hours banging their head against the wall trying to figure out the equations or figure out the brushstrokes or play the music on the instruments. But a true master in science and math and music will simply play a thing. And they'll say, yeah, when you're doing it, it's easy. You just get into the music and feel it. You just get into the brush and paint. A true master will tell you it's not complicated. You get so into it, you let your ego go and it just happens. Good martial artists even say this. Bruce Lee used to say this. How did he do these impossible things? And he said, I don't. I just get into the flow and it does it. It happens. The most complicated things become very simple when you get them well enough. And you can't get them well enough without awareness. And awareness and love are the same thing. Practice being aware. Practice loving first and foremost yourself. And look for these changes in the world. Get involved in them. Swim a little deeper in the ocean. And if you find you're angry or frustrated or trying to force something to happen, stop. This isn't about being angry and waving signs and protesting and shouting at people. This is about waking up the kichahel, the fundamental energies of the heart. About beginning to hear the music. And the way to that is not violence or fear or anxiety. In the path of your joy will you find the learning for which you came to this world. This is not some deep, scary magic. This is not some complicated equation. This is something that everyone knows at some level, and we ignore it because it's too simple. If I put up graphs and charts and gave you complicated equations and talked about first derivatives and second derivatives and integrals over time and all kinds of things, you might say, oh, wow, that sounds very complicated. I'm willing to believe that. But it's not complicated. It's fundamentally so simple that we want to look past it. The love that a parent has for a child is the most fundamental force in the universe, because it is the same love that anyone or anything has. It is the energy of the heart, the piece that tunes us together so we can hear the music and move in harmony with it. And this is what you need right now, more than anything. Watch for the anxiety in your life. If it's not there, you're not paying attention. Because there's a lot of change going on. Watch for being afraid, nervous, anxious, upset, frustrated. If they're not there, you're doing something wrong. The more you're paying attention, the more change you'll sense. And the more you feel the frustration, the anxiety, the insecurity. It's okay. Find them. But don't get caught in the craziness where the waves are breaking. Just swim a little deeper out. Stand at a place where the ocean comes up to your waist, maybe. Just float gently. Breathe deeply. Stay grounded. And when you're floating there, give yourself a big hug and say, I love you. Or if someone else is there you know well enough, put an arm around them and say, I love you. I'm so glad I get to spend this time with you. If you're married, if you're dating someone, put your arm around that person and say, I love you. My life would be so different without you. Thanks for being here with me. If you have kids or parents, go to them and give them a hug and say, I love you. I'm so grateful you've been in my life. It doesn't have to be lots of words. It's the energy of the heart that matters. You just say, I love you. And you say it over and over and over again until they think you're nuts. Why do you keep saying that? Because it's true, and I want you to understand it, and more importantly, I want to understand it. And so I keep saying it till I get it. Love yourself. Love one another. Love the world around you as much as you can. Expand your circle and begin to reach out with love to people. If you're driving and somebody cuts you off, take a deep breath and practice loving that person instead of being angry. If your waitress or the person who rings up your groceries or a random person you pass in the street is frustrated or sad or short or tired, just close your eyes for a moment and think, all right, I don't know you, but I love you. And maybe it won't be true. Maybe you don't have enough of a heart to love these strangers. But, see, the heart physically is a muscle. And at a fundamental level, the piece that can love is a muscle. And that is, the more you build it up, the stronger it gets. The more people you love, the better you get at loving. The more deeply and richly and intensely you understand and are aware of that love for them, the more that you can love. And the more people you love, and the more people you love, the more you can love, and the more people you love. And it just gets bigger, and it's not complicated. It starts with you looking in the mirror and saying, I love you, over and over until you believe it. You're amazing. You're doing a good job. This is the secret to all that's going on, to this huge, fast change in the world. It's not social movements. It's not understanding the financial chaos. It's not rerouting, recreating, redesigning, protesting. It is the energy of the heart. It is nothing more complicated than I love you. And it is the fundamental motivating force of everything that is. This is not some hippie talk or some Beatles song. This is science and math and music. This is the mystics and the mysticism. The energy of the heart is central to everything. Practice it over and over. Practice it. Practice loving and trusting and expanding your circle. And then do it again and do it again and do it again. Most exercises you do, you run on a treadmill or you do push-ups or lift weights. The more you do, the more tired you get. This is some weird magic, perhaps, about the energy of the heart. The more you love, the less tired you get. The more you love, the more you can love. You can't use it up. I'm telling you that this is the most fundamental time of change that this planet has seen. More than the extinction of the dinosaurs, more than when critters first crawled out of the sea and took their first breaths on land. This is the most fundamental time. And all of your prophets, all of your prophecies, the Hopis and the Cherokee and the Mayans, all of your mystics, they're talking about this. This time right now is that time of change, of huge, radical, sweeping, fundamental change. And it's terrifying. And the answer to making your life peaceful, amazing, and the answer to changing this world, to in 100 years having this phenomenal, amazing place to live that right now most of us don't dare to dream of, starts with you looking in the mirror and saying, I love you. And if you can't understand it, that's okay. Maybe it's too big for you. Maybe it's too simple. Do it. Try it. Practice it. The very worst that can happen is that you don't change the world, but you find a greater love and appreciation and gratitude for the people around you, and your life gets richer and more beautiful. This is the worst that can happen. Your life getting richer and more beautiful. It doesn't sound so bad. And the best that can happen is we reshape this world. We are part of this fundamental change. We create heaven here on this planet. The most beautiful dreams you have, we create. This is the best possibility. So if the worst thing that can happen is you have a richer and healthier and happier life, it's the worst. And the best is all the stuff I've been talking about for so long. This is something everybody should be doing. So tonight, before you go to bed, next time you go to the toilet or you go to wash your hands, look in a mirror. Just look carefully at yourself and say, I love you. And say it a few times, because the first time you think, yeah, I don't know about that. That's too weird. Do it, and then do it again, and do it again. And when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should do is give yourself a hug and say, I love you. If you wake up next to someone, give them a hug and say, I love you. And maybe they say, leave me alone, I want to sleep. That's okay. It doesn't matter what they do. It matters how much you love. When you get better and better and better, people will come to trust it. They will come to you seeking that. Excuse me. Rumi says, admit something. Everyone you meet, you say to them, love me. Everyone. Of course, you don't say it out loud or they'd lock you up. Why not become that person whose love is so great that you can give to every person that which they are so dying to hear? Become that. Become part of the change. Not just riding the waves, but part of what's changing the world. Part of recreating our future. Not by some complicated mathematics or music, but by becoming that love. By looking at everyone and everything in your life and practicing saying, I love you, and meaning it. And practice over and over. I guarantee you, for those who have the guts to try it, but by the time, from today, you can write them down and count them if you want. By the time you've said, I love you 10,000 times, you will mean it. You will find your heart is so big that you're walking down the street seeing complete strangers who are sad or lonely and saying, oh, I love you. I wish I could help you. I wish there was something I could do. Your love will be so great that it will reshape your entire life. You'll be getting out of bed saying, I'm so happy to be alive. Today's going to be an amazing chance to experience that love, that awareness. I'm so happy to be me. I'm so happy to be in this world because I get this chance. I guarantee you that if you do this 10,000 times, this is what will happen. But for that to happen, you have to do it once. So when you're able, just give yourself a hug and silently say, I love you. It's easy. Just do it like this. I love you. You're amazing. And just do it again. Do it again. When you look in the mirror, say, I love you. You're awesome. With the people in your life, say, I love you. You're amazing. You're doing awesome. You're wonderful. I love you. And say it over and over, over and over. And that love is awareness. And that awareness redefines all that we are and all that we do. And this will both cure your anxiety, your fear, your drama about the changes in the world, and it will make you a part of the change. It will open your heart so you can hear the music, so you're not uncomfortable about your bodies, so you're not afraid of the people who are around you, so you're not nervous or cautious or anxious or overwhelmed. And when you start to hear the music and really hear it, you start to dance. You can't help it when you hear the music. You dance. And it sounds so simple. And yet it is the fundamental, deep, powerful truth that underwrites your reality. When enough people simply love with a pure heart, everything changes. Practice that love. Good night.